and plan rehabilitation. Evidence has suggested that goal setting is the most appropriate way to plan, direct, and measure the success of rehabilitation. So if cognitive rehabilitation is ultimately concerned with enabling people to participate effectively in valued activities, as I told you, it may be work, it may be leisure, it may be education, then the outcome should be measured in terms of whether or not the program enables the individual to achieve his or her goals. I'm sure you have heard about like brain sorting tasks being implemented in different places, digit vigilance, they ask the patients to cancel the letters in a newspaper. But after the rehabilitation program, and when I went to UK to see this program, I was completely amazed that these are programs which are never implemented. They said these don't work. Okay, so unfortunately these are the programs which are being implemented in different leading centers in India in the name of cognitive rehabilitation. So basically we are not setting goals, that what we have seen. So the use of goal setting basically helps to focus attention on positive mental health, well-being and happiness. So positive psychology defines well-being or happiness in terms of positive emotion, engagement, positive relationship, the purposes of relationship and the activities, and what is accomplishing. So that is the whole purpose of rehab, and that is the whole purpose of setting goals, to have a positive mental health. Now, how do we set the goals? We first set short-term goals, and every short-term goal basically leads to a long-term goal. And so that is the reason we need to have a time frame. Like, for example, if this person, Dhiman, has an attention problem, what should be the short-term goals which will ultimately help him in the long-term goal to attend to his business properly? So goals should be very specific. They should be achievable but very challenging. Studies have shown that when the goals are very vague but rather easy, the patient is not motivated to pursue that goal. Rather, studies have shown that difficult goals lead to significant better performance than vague, easy or no goals. It should be ensured that the goal is clear to the patient and to the family, and also the goal should be remembered. So what we did in Dhiman's case was, Dhiman said, I don't remember anything, but he was very motivated to participate in the rehab. So what I did, I challenged Dhiman's thoughts. So Dhiman, you feel that your friends will neglect you, you feel that you are not accepted by the society, and you don't remember. Okay, I'm giving you a task. So at the end of an hour session with him, I told you, Dhiman, can you recall all that I've discussed with you? And he gave a good account. So the positive reinforcement which I gave to Dhiman, even he was amazed. So the next thing I did was, I asked Dhiman, he is actually traveling from Assam every 2 weeks to come for the rehab program. So his mother initially thought that they would take a house here and go for the rehab program because they can afford it. But I rather explained to Dhiman's mother the whole purpose of rehab, that it should be done in a natural setting. So please go back home. Instead of buying a house in Calcutta, go back home. And put him in the real life situation. So Dhiman went back home, and I told him, Dhiman, just watch movies. Or I asked his mother, just randomly put a few faces on the computer, search for a few faces, because his mother is very educated and very cooperative, and see whether Dhiman can name the people. His mother calls me and said, ma'am, he's doing it very nicely. So, Dhiman's self was very threatened. But the positive feedback which was getting, ultimately how it helped him, Dhiman was no longer preoccupied with his forgetfulness. So it really helped us to shift Dhiman's thoughts to some other functions. So the goals should be very specific, achievable, but challenging, and it should be relevant to the patient's personal aims and aspirations. The another thing we also found was that Dhiman had what was the business? Pumps and motors. So what he also told us that he is unable to remember the names of the parts of pumps and motors. So I also involved Dhiman's brother. I asked him to write down the names, and his brother informed me that he's not all, but he's able to remember the names of pumps and motors. So it is related to the person's aims and information. So what we did, we said, so I've already told what I discussed with you, and as I told you earlier, Dhiman was taking a bath in a haste and he was smelling, which was really bothering his mother. So the goals, the specific goals which we set for Dhiman was maintaining a proper hygiene, improving his social communication, improving his memory for recent events, reducing his restlessness, improving efficiency in work, in both home and work. Dhiman used to help his mother a lot. But for example, making the tea or the bed, and reducing his aggression. His aggression was because of his frustration and nothing else. So, maintaining hygiene, what we did, the strategy used. So what Dhiman started doing in the presence of the mother, he was sponging himself with warm water. We kept it for 7 days. So it is going on for 7 days. We have not achieved the ultimate completely. So he is not taking a bath properly, but he is sponging himself and is washing his limbs. And the long-term goal is to take a proper bath. So our target is to achieve this in a month's time. Next. Social communication, as I've told you. So what we did, one of my interns, he said, Dhiman, I'm going to observe whether you have come on the Facebook. So you have kept yourself away from everybody. So I want to see in 3 days time that you are inviting me on the Facebook, because he's away from the Facebook for around 9 months. He had the head injury in December and Dhiman did it. His mother again called me up. Every day we have given him homework. Dhiman, call up your friends and see how your friends are talking to you. So what Dhiman's mother told me, he is not talking at length, but is at least communicating with his friends. And his friends have also started visiting him. He is very bothered about his looks, but we have also asked his family, talk to his friends in isolation, that they should not talk anything related to Dhiman's injury. Okay? And pertaining to his memory, I have already discussed. Basically, we challenged Dhiman's memory problems. So I have already discussed. I don't think I need to go to this slide at all. And for his attention problems, we have given time pressure management tasks, goal management training. For example, I told Dhiman that you have to stop and think what I am doing. What are you attempting to do? Fix a goal. Don't set a very huge goal. He was a very, very active businessman. Don't set too huge goals. Set a very small goal and see whether you are able to achieve that goal. Define the goal. Then you have to break it into steps, learn the steps, and while implementing the steps, check that you are on track and you are not losing your attention. That is very important. And also to identify the priority everyday tasks and select strategy to reflect need. Establish consistent routines. We have made a routine from the time Dhiman gets up in the morning to the time he goes to bed. We have made a routine for Dhiman in discussion with Dhiman and his mother. We have now Dhiman has started using his mobile for different sorts of alarms, when he needs to go up, when he needs to come back to his house for lunch, within what time he needs to finish a task. So he's setting alarms for all the activities. And his family members are very cooperative. They're also giving him different prompts and encouragement. And different behavior management techniques are also being implemented. So controlling, what we have done is here, since Dhiman used to love to watch movies, we have asked Dhiman to watch movies for at least 15 minutes. And then for half an hour, and then to increase his ability to sit in one place for a long time. And there also we found that Dhiman is pretty cooperative, even though we are not able to manage his restlessness to a very great extent. So what Dhiman's mother calls me up regularly. So what Dhiman thinks is that his fear and self-doubt has reduced. He thinks that his level of functioning has improved, and according to his mother, he engages in small household work. Her mother is very happy that Dhiman makes coffee and tea for her and her brother. Now he goes to office, though he is not extremely productive. And we also use different compensatory strategies. For example, if there is a verbal memory, this is not in relationship to Dhiman. So apart from goal management, different compensatory strategies should also be used. For example, if there is a verbal memory deficit, we can use pictures. For example, in one of my patients, the pictures of daily needs are being pasted on his wall, and he can just point out to the different pictures to express his need. Errorless learning, the whole principle is that since the medial temporal lobes are not engaged in those people with marked memory problems, the procedural memory, the automatic memory system takes over. And if the automatic memory learns something which is where there is an error, the tendency of the brain is to retain that process. So we target that whatever little the person is learning, it should be learned in an errorless manner from the very beginning. Environmental adaptation, which I've told many a times, like for example, we have applied this in case of Dhiman, working in a quiet, distracting room to aid communication. And this is Professor Narendra Kapoor, who is again a part of the entire Cambridge, and he's contributing